Property of Rick Sanchez, huh? Sounds like a guy who makes bad decisions. Let's see what this thing can do.
Bro, did Earth shrink or did I just get bigger?
What the heck is that noise?
Who the heck do you think you are? Please tell me you believe in second chances.
Bro, I ain't built for this. That lizard's got some serious anger issues. Oh, thank God it was just a dream. That's it. No more Taco Tuesdays.
I'm gonna eat the whole bag. I'm not a bitch.
This is why drugs are bad.
I'm gonna eat the whole bag. I'm not a bitch.
That's why people who say that gummies are, no problem. Proof right here. It'll have you vacuuming the grass and washing trees and stuff. So, gotta really, 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 really be careful with all that. So, what's up? What's up, everybody? That was a great night last night. Everyone who was here last night's here, and then here again tonight. We got Lynn, GMB. Hello, how you doing? We got JD. What's up, buddy? Sharon Tyler. Hello. Hit the like button, definitely. Steve Hilliard. Tim tells you in chat. Hello. We got Kevin, kids call him Kevin. Let's go. Julio Scissors is here. Hey, what's up, dog? Kevin says, hey, Julio, how late do we want to keep Jim up tonight? Well, let's not keep him up too late. Last night was kind of late. I started to oof. Although we didn't go 8 hours. And then none of your business. It's up evening all. So, how's everybody doing? Just Kevin is fine. Okay, just Kevin. From now on, it's just Kevin. Hey, happy hump day, all. That's right. It's Wednesday. Wednesday. Does anybody know what Wednesday stands for? Thursday is Thor's Day. It's for Thor. But does anybody know what Wednesday is? Yeah, I was dragging that last half hour. I shouldn't have drank that second shot. That second shot, I think, was a little too much. Because actually, that was like 4 shots because it was like double shots. So whatever. My inner Dave was coming out. anyway. There was some breaking news right before I got started that I wanted to address. So we'll get right into that. And with breaking news stuff, I don't really, generally speaking, I don't really talk about it, but this is like, you know, we're not gonna make any assumptions. We're just gonna talk about what the news story says, and that's it. We're not gonna make any assumptions. Multiple deputies confirmed shot in incident near Virginia, North Carolina border for Fox News. Prayers for everyone. Yeah, see here, this. Pray for the blue and get you to go to Fox and see what they're saying. No, I wasn't doing any cocaine. Multiple deputies confirmed shot in an incident near Virginia and North Carolina border. Yeah, but the problem for Day is I don't know how to get him back exactly. No. Representative John McGuire confirms officers wounded in Pittsylvania County incident. This is action-packed video. I hope everybody's right, at the edge of their seat. This has got me wondering what's going on here. We got a mailbox there, and we got a sheriff directing traffic. Oof. This is what Fox News put out on their website. That's amazing, Fox News. That's amazing. That's amazing, Fox News. And then you go jump into the wrong one. Multiple deputies confirmed shot incident near Virginia, North Carolina border. Large police presence in Pittsylvania, Pittsylvania County. Oh. Rep. John McGuire confirmed multiple deputies were shot in Pittsylvania County, Virginia on Wednesday evening. A large police presence remains at the scene in Gretna, near the border between North Carolina and Virginia. We were just watching JLR investigates on us a few minutes ago. We couldn't find any news stations with info. I don't know. This might not even be info, to tell you the truth. I don't know what this is. We're going to find out. To all that. My thoughts and prayers are with the deputies and those who were shot. We are closely following the situation. It will keep everybody affected in our hearts at this difficult time. Wow. So that's it. That's all Fox News has on it. Oh, you're here for the Jim Clapper email release? Well, if you're happy and Clapper's indicted. So that's all we have on that story as of right now. Is that's it right now. So and like everything else, with everything else, let's see. Mm-hmm. We have this, which I'll show you, which, we're just going to pull it. So it says that update, active shooter situation ongoing, at least 4 officers shot in possible ambush. Suspect is barricaded in his home. Mm-hmm. Yep, they're shooting cops against that. Hey, Mika, how you doing? Serenity. Yeah. Shift news or rumors of news? Well, yeah, we're going to get some of that. Definitely. This is in Pittsylvania County in Virginia. Major multi-agency response listed here. At least 1 officer airlifted from the area to a local hospital. Pennsylvania County Station 22, Gretna Fire Squad 2, Danville officer involved shooting. I don't know. This is someone's house. It must be this video. think we saw a lot of stuff before. That it says live stream active shooter situation. Ex-Marine barricaded at home. 3 officers shot. 1 transported to the hospital by life flight agency. This is the same video. Keeps rolling over and over again. Mass shooting. Pittsville County deputy shot. It's a JLR guy that you're talking about. JLR investigates. Yeah, there he is. JLR investigates. What do you know? Law enforcement is addressing an active shooter incident near J Lane in Pennsylvania County. SWAT teams and a negotiator are there. This looks like some video I haven't seen before, so let's see. Yeah, not really. It's just not really much going on in the way of finding out stuff yet. It's still probably too early, rapidly evolving. So we'll have to keep an eye, and every once in a while I'll check. We'll jump onto this story. This is a little more, whatever you want to call it. Los Angeles councilman slapped with corruption charges for allegedly embezzling $800,000 with wife. What do you know? Huh. That's interesting, right? This guy and his wife. LA has a lot of problems with their councilman. Yeah. Moving on up to the east side. Hey, you know who else embezzled $800,000? These 2 crooks. Yeah, well, they actually embezzled $800 million, if I'm not mistaken. They always look like they are fashionable third world kleptocratic dictators visiting the King of England. Are there any Democrat politicians who aren't corrupt? Yeah, best he could get was local streamers. Yeah, I don't, then hi Kim and Shay, how you doing? It's quite possible that if the guy is barricade and they're negotiating with them, there's not gonna be any news on it until that gets resolved. Pretty much, they don't want him. They don't want anything getting out. You know what I mean? That can get to him and give him information. So that's generally speaking how that's going to go until they can get some kind of resolution to it or something. They're not going to be putting stuff out. LA City Councilman Karen Price to face new corruption charges, and the 4th Los Angeles politician heading to prison, most corrupt city in the country. Your favorite mayor has made the list of most corrupt. Oh, okay. At a prison, how about last thing? There you go. Well, let's read a story. Los Angeles councilman slapped with corruption charges for allegedly embezzling $800,000 with wife. An embattled Los Angeles City Council member was slapped with new corruption charges after he and his wife allegedly embezzled $800,000 meant for housing and public transit. Councilman Karen Price was formally charged Tuesday with 2 counts of corruption for allegedly voting to approve the city's housing authority and metro service for fat state and federal grants in exchange for nearly $1 million in payouts to his wife's consulting firm. I'm confused. So they're charging him for voting? I don't know. I hope they have something. I mean, this just seems like Price was already in hot water. The politician endorsed by Mayor Karen Bass was facing charges of grant theft, perjury, and conflict of interest for votes on projects that allegedly resulted in $150,000 in kickbacks to his wife, Del Richardson. Oh, so they're just getting paid all the way around. They're always getting paid. Embezzling public funds and awarding contracts for your own financial gain is the antithesis of public service, Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman said in a statement. Prosecutors claim the LA City Housing Authority paid Richardson's company, Del Richardson and Associates, more than $600,000 over a 9-month period in 2019 and 2020. In the same period, Price voted to approve the department for $35 million in federal grant money and $252 million from the state. Hey, Daniel Gygax, how you doing? Nice to see you tonight. Catherine K, nice to see you. And Jay Schwalbach says, Jim, I've got nothing. I'll add some alcohol and see what I can come up with. Well, I don't know. If things continue the way that they seem like they're going, where just very slow, I might have to add some alcohol to spice some things up, but we'll see. We shall see. Because last night was a celebration. From 2021 to 2020 to 2021, LA Metro paid Richardson's firm around $200,000. Meanwhile, Price brought and voted in favor of a motion to award LA Metro $30 million in public funds, the prosecutors allege. Price also allegedly funneled $2 million in funds to a housing nonprofit he was serving as CEO for during the COVID-19 pandemic. Ooh, man. Price's attorney, Michael Schaffler, dismissed the new allegations as a political hit job based on cherry-picked voting records. They have gone back as much as 6 years, combing through thousands and thousands of votes to find a couple more allegedly conflicted votes, hoping that the public will overlook the fact that there's no evidence whatsoever that Councilmember Price was aware of the alleged conflicts when he voted for the agenda items. Hey, look at that. We got a couple of people in the Tika. Life and it's different. How are you doing over there in the ghetto? But the DA's office claims Price's own staffers flagged the votes as potential problems. Price was elected in 2013 and reelected in 2017 with the endorsement of Mayor Karen Bass. Well, Mayor Bass wasn't the mayor back then, if I'm not mistaken. I think she was a congresswoman. I don't know if she was getting any kickbacks. The charges against him add to a mountain of scandals within Los Angeles' government. In 2023, the same year Price faced his first batch of charges, former council member Jose Huzad pleaded guilty to racketeering and tax evasion. And a veteran city politician, Mark Ridley Thomas, was sentenced to federal prison for a bribery scheme in which he sought favors for his son from a university dean in exchange for political favors. Indicted for impure thoughts on a steamboat landing. Terrible. I hate when that happens. Hey, Trumpedator, what's new? How's it going? And says, we are in the ghetto again. Good to see you. Well, I don't know why people, it's just Rumble. The only reason I call it the ghetto is because we can't actually see if there's any money coming from there. I have to go look. If Rumble could get that fixed so that you could actually see, more than the poor chat, if we could see the paid chat, that would be great. That'd just be great. Last year, Mayor Bass appointed a fellow progressive, Janice Quinones, as head of the Water and Power Department, paying her roughly a $750,000 salary, almost double what her predecessor made. Hey, what's up? You're not staying up all night again. Okay, well, I don't force anybody. Hey, no Jabski, what's up? How you doing? We won't force anybody to stay up. Me myself, I didn't get very much sleep. I got went to bed at 6 and I was up at 9 o'clock, so I got 3 hours I'm on. As ended February, Bass fired fire chief Christian Crowley for her bungled response to the Palisades fire. Less than 3 years after Crowley's predecessor resigned amid allegations of racism and sexism in the upper echelons of the fire department. Well, I mean, the lady didn't have the water because that lady that Karen Bass hired and paid double what they paid the other people didn't think it was a big deal to not have water for firefighting. Okay, so I guess that's it. That's all we have on that. So let's see. Now we got the LA Times. LA Times says LA City Council Karen Price faces new corruption charges. You know what? Honestly, I'm starting. It's starting to take an effect. I generally try to get 6 hours of sleep a night, sometimes 7. But it's been 4 or 5 hours, sometimes 3. It catches up. What'll happen is after a week or so, cutting it short like that, 3 or 4 hours, I'll just be knocked out. I'm yawning right now. I'll just get knocked out at like 5 in the afternoon. I'll pass out and then I'll sleep. Then I'll wake up at like 3 in the morning and go, oh, what happened? And so it'll be all screwed up. Yes. You're no 20. I know, man. But yeah, I used to do in my 20s. I used to be really bad. I used to go out all night, basically, and go out and party all night till 6, 4, 5 in the morning. Get a couple, like 2 hours of sleep. Get up, go to work all day. You know, I'd sleep during lunch breaks at work. I'd take an hour nap for lunch, and then work the rest of the afternoon. And then I'd go home, and I'd get it maybe like an hour, hour and a half nap. Get up, go out to dinner, go out, party again all night, and then just do it all again. Yeah, it was rough, but you know, back then there was things you could take. There was a special smelling salts you could do that would keep you awake. Life's a difference of 3 hours is what I get every night. You get used to it after 30 plus years. Yeah, they say you technically only need 2 hours of sleep a night. That's what they say, or 2 or 4 hours is. I mean, I know that people say you need to get your 8 hours, but I mean, like, I think there was a study that says that you can function on 4 hours, either 2 or 4 hours. 6 cans of Red Bull is how you do it. Actually, at this point, the Red Bull's not really doing much. It's not strong enough. I need something stronger. Yes, that's what they called it, you know, but I never really liked it. I just enjoyed the smell of it. Prosecutors are expected to file additional charges against City Councilman Price this week. He was first accused in 2023 of, yes. Yeah, that works, you know, of embezzlement, perjury, and other stuff. The prosecutors plan to file additional corruption charges. Charges were expected to be made public Thursday during a pretrial hearing. June 2023 is charged with 10 counts of grand theft and embezzlement. Yeah, I did see that video. Bronca did a video breaking it down. I'm just not sure the angle on that. What the, you know. Yeah, Colombian munching powder, Peruvian booger sugar. Yeah. Perjury charges stem from a claim that Price didn't list his wife's income on disclosure forms. Prosecutors also allege Price of theft by embezzlement by bilking the city out of tens of thousands of dollars by placing Richardson on his city-issued health care plan between 2013 and 2017 before they were legally married. Oof. Price's attorney said the new charge is nothing more than an attempt to pile on a weak case. Criminal complaint 4 years after the time's investigation. New charges relate to a similar conduct related to votes that Price cast. Yeah, you can have that effect. Yeah, if you take enough of it, you'll start to get tired. It'll put you to sleep, or not. Can happen. So Tuesday, they're saying they're going to release more stuff. Also are invalid because Price did not have control over the funds. All right, so there's that story. We got this story, which is Trump sweetens the deal. Why does it keep doing this? At Friday's Alaska summit with Putin, Trump will arrive with a deal Putin can't ignore. It's going to make him an offer he can't refuse. Rare earths, oil, and sanctions relief, all in exchange for ending the Ukraine war. It's the Trump doctrine. Commerce, not chaos. This is a thread. Hey, Saxon, how you doing? Nice to see you. Look at all the stuff they got there. Graphite, lithium, titanium, zirconium, non-ferrous metal, polymetallic, rare earths, iron, manganese, and uranium. Trump's plan: offer Putin access to rare earth minerals in occupied Ukraine. Open parts of Alaska's vast offshore oil and gas reserves to Russian development. Why would we open it to Russian development? Why would we open to Russian development? Lift some sanctions on Russia's crippled aviation industry, all to incentivize a ceasefire. Ukraine holds 10% of the world's lithium reserves, vital for batteries. 2 of the largest deposits are in Russian-occupied zones. Trump is prepared to let Moscow tap those reserves legally as part of the peace deal. Do you have a lot of knowledge about the coca? The cocaine? My respect for you has gone up immensely. Stay clean, my friend. I haven't done cocaine in quite a long time, but I you know, put it this way. I used to purchase it in quantities way larger than what Mercado got caught with. Let's say 36 of those at a time. Development near Alaska could also be part of the package. The Bering Strait region, just 3 miles from Russia, holds 13% of the world's oil and huge gas reserves. Joint development could boost both economies and strengthen both countries in the Arctic. Russia's vital aviation sector is falling apart under the sanctions. Nearly 30% of its Western-made planes may be grounded within 5 years. Airlines are cannibalizing old jets for parts. Lifting some bans equals huge wins for U.S. suppliers like Boeing. Win-win. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, I don't know, how does his name pronounce? Bessent, I don't know, has been working the numbers, identifying money-making opportunities for Putin that could speed up an agreement. If the first meeting goes well, Trump wants a second summit with Putin and Zelensky immediately. Rick Duke says Trump should give him Southern California. Couldn't hurt. Zelensky says Zelensky says Trump supports security guarantees for Ukraine as part of any peace deal. European leaders Macron, Merz, Starmer say calls with Trump have been positive and that a coalition of the willing is ready to lock in a ceasefire. You have a small village in Colombia that's going to be a Christmas card for every year for the money that you sent them. Love you, bro. You know what? It's what it is, man. It was different times, man. Different times back then, you know? The late 80s, early 90s. Different times, friends. We were jolly green giants with guns. Trump said at a press conference he's going to Russia on Friday. I guess Alaska is part of Russia now. No NATO for Ukraine. No, that can't happen. Bottom line, this is the Trump doctrine in action. Transactional geopolitics, giving Putin economic carrots while keeping the stick of very severe consequences if he refuses. Mm-hmm. Well, of course, my brain wasn't fully developed. I was young, but it was Chicago. What are you going to do? I think I did talk about the guy the other night, but it was I didn't get into too depth about what I just covered the facts. I think there's more information out now about the guy. Oh yeah, that was the guy. He was the guy who got arrested. That's right. No, I was not a gangster disciple, if that's what you're asking. Friday in Alaska could be the day the war starts to end. Daddy's home. Trump's transactional foreign policy. I wonder if is that a good story to look at? I guess we could look at this. Mm-hmm. Secretary of State Marco Rubio explains the rationale behind President Trump's meeting with Putin. The president feels like, look, I've got to look at this guy across the table. I need to see him face to face. I need to hear him one-on-one. I need to make an assessment by looking at him. Okay. So that's kind of like Kind of like what George Bush said. I looked Putin in the eye. I looked old Putin in the eyes. Yeah, Florida to Seattle. That was a guy. He ran over Trump's tables in Florida, like Trump people trying to register voters, and then somehow he was already out, and then he shot somebody in Seattle. Yeah, most everybody I know actually sleeps less as they get older. Life is different. I remember my grandfather. I was always like, dude, when do you sleep? It's up all the time, and he would sleep a couple hours, here, a couple hours there. That's it. Daddy's home. Trump's transactional foreign policy is anything but retreat. The critics cry isolationism, but Trump is making the U.S. more dominant than ever by turning dependent allies into strong partners. That's right. We need strong partners. This essay is free, but with premium membership, you get more. Apply today. Okay. When NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte joked this year at the summit, it's called naps. Yeah, I know those are called naps. That the alliance needs Daddy Trump back. It was more than the icebreaker. It was an unguarded confession. Europe knows exactly who set it straight. What it wasn't was unending America is withdrawing from the world. Refrain of neoconservative friends. Rutte, a Dutch globalist to his bones, knows exactly who had dragged NATO out of decades of complacency, who had forced Europe to stop coasting on American protection and start taking its own defense seriously. He was acknowledging in public that the man so often accused of undermining NATO had in fact saved it from irrelevance. Trump cast his foreign policy as commerce, not chaos, and that's certainly the positive side of it. But the negative, necessary side could be better summed up as partners, not dependents. Yeah, that could work, Trumpinator, if Trump should propose that Zelensky and Putin have a fist fight to settle the war. I mean, that could work, although Putin, if I'm not mistaken, is like black belt in jiu-jitsu or something like that, so that could be bad for Zelensky. I'm sorry to hear that. There's a good evening, Jim Chat. I didn't get a notification. Yeah, I don't know. YouTube. Little Spanish boss. Nixon going south. Cool. For decades following the Cold War, America's relationship with much of the developed world has resembled a dysfunctional household. We were the responsible but indulgent parent, working 2 jobs, paying all the bills, and fighting off the burglars, while our grown children, perfectly capable, wealthy in their own right, often offered sanctimonious lectures from our basement, spent lavishly on domestic luxuries, and quietly undercut us in trade and diplomacy. This was called alliance. In reality, it was dependency. Europe was content, giddy, really, to sneer at American boorishness while outsourcing its defense to us, effectively a subsidy of the German welfare state, while the lack of rifles, Germany trained its soldiers with broomsticks and brought its energy from its supposed geopolitical nemesis. You bought yourself a menthol vape because it's too hot to go outside and smoke a cigarette. I prefer I smoke Newports menthols for man. For almost 20 years, I smoked Newports like a pack a day, and I switched to it's called Icicle, and I can't go wrong. You bought yourself a THC vape pen. I don't really. I mean, I can maybe like once or twice a year I might have a couple gummies or something, but I don't really go for the smoking weed or anything anymore. The foreign policy establishment in Washington was, but then again, I don't judge anybody who does. So I've smoked a lot of weed. I've done a lot of cocaine, MDMA, ecstasy, Special K, Liquid G, stuff like that, all through the '90s. So I'm not going to jump down anybody's throat for enjoying themselves. Just keep control of it and don't let it get out of hand. No women, no kids. But they were terrified of what might happen if they expected more from the grown children in the base, if they convinced themselves that this lopsided arrangement was leadership. I never tried DMT, but I've done mushrooms and acid and PCP. Yeah. And yeah. that the same thing? Pretty much. They convinced themselves this would mean abandonment and retreat, and they took overweening pride in being essential. It would be easy at this point to say something like everyone but American people benefited, but even that's not true. How does weakness serve Europe's interests, and how does it serve America's? Has dependence on Moscow for energy made Europe more able to carry out its economic sanctions against its frenemy? Did I ever smoke a cool straight? Wow. I've smoked cools before. Whenever I would run out of cigarettes, in some like with some people that I do smoke cools that didn't have, unless I could get a Newport, I would get a cool, smoke a cool. But I prefer if as opposed to a regular cool, if I was going to smoke cools, I would smoke cool milds because they were more closer to Newports in my mind, the way they tasted. But if Europe feels threatened by Russia or anyone, it isn't because Europe couldn't fight off a gang of armed teenagers, literally, as it turns out, and exactly whose fault is that? Donald Trump never bought into the fiction, unlike the childless European elite. Trump has raised 5 impressive children, each capable and accomplished in their own right. He knows what that cost. He also knows that we can all plainly see that his family is stronger as a result, that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. He could have let his kids play video games while the butler brought them beer. Instead, he made them learn every part of the business they now masterfully run. Yeah. Yeah, everybody in my family smoked. My dad smoked Lucky Strikes. My mother smoked Winston's. My grandfather smoked Camels. A couple of my uncles smoked Pall Malls. And I think an aunt smoked Parliaments or something like that. And my other aunt smoked Marlboros. I mean, I can smoke a Marlboro if I have to. I mean, I haven't smoked a cigarette in over 10 years. I haven't smoked a cigarette. Well over 10 years. Probably longer than that. And just now the smell of cigarettes, I go like, ugh. But I guess if I had to smoke a cigarette, I could. But I don't want to. I don't know. I still like smoking cigars, though, man. Oh, man, I'll smoke a nice cigar. Well, I really like Padrones. They're really good. And Crippener said I was smoking at 7. I think I was 11 or 12. Something like that. I think I was 11 or 12 when I started smoking. He also knows those principles apply to more than just family. The keepers of the uniparty foreign policy consensus recoil in horror. But the results speak for themselves. Despite the hysterical screeching to the contrary, and from people who ought to know better, Trump's foreign policy is not a retreat from the world. In fact, it's the opposite. A commitment to doubling allied defense expenditures, including ours, creating vastly more forces with which to confront all the threats, combined with the leveling of the playing field in trade and investment. That interconnects nations more than ever before. It's commerce, not chaos. It says, I quit cigs 10 years ago. I still miss them. I still vape, so I guess I'm kind of like cheating. She says, I crave cigarettes, but haven't smoked in over 20 years. Yeah, every once in a while you get a craving, but the smell, like I'll crave the cigarette. I'll be like, oh, especially if I'm drinking. Whew. But just smelling cigarettes, like it bothers me now. When I sell someone who smokes, when they come at me, I'm like, ooh, get away. Rick Dumas says he rolled his own Bugle and switched to Camel non-filters. Is Bugle the one that's the menthol roll your own, or is that another brand, Kites or something? What is it called? He says his starter, what he stole from his grandparents and parents, they're great. Lucky Strikes, Winston-Salem menthol, and Winston Reds. Newports were my starters, yeah. I hate the smell of cigarettes. No one's allowed to smoke inside my house. Take that crap outside. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I vape like a choo-choo train, but I miss the real thing. Yeah. Yeah. Only people who quit don't like the smell. Yeah, that's what they say. Philip Coggins says, surrounded by tobacco fields at Fort Campbell, but never smoked, but love the smell of roasting tobacco. I mean, I wonder how much better it would be if they stopped putting all the chemicals in there, if they stopped putting all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, Mark Twain said quitting smoking was the easiest thing he'd ever done. He'd done it over 2,000 times. Yeah. 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 I don't smoke in my house or car. Yeah. Smoking in your car is terrible, man. It puts a film on your windows and everything. 18 cents a packet C, 21 cents in port. Wow. 210 per carton. That was a long time ago. Rolls our own now. Saves a ton of money and close enough to Marlboro Reds. Yeah, you can get your own roller. Like you get a rolling machine now that you can make it, and they'll be pretty much they'll be exactly like store bought. You know, same kind of mechanical rollers that uh, smokers are the worst. Yeah, 1968. There you go. Mm-hmm. I used to hit the North Carolina, Virginia border and grab cartons of Reds for $10 each. Yeah. Yeah. We used to have to go to Indiana in Chicago if we wanted cheap cigarettes. You go to Indiana, but now I mean, I don't think there's anywhere. I mean, I think when cigarettes hit $8 a pack or something is when I quit. Like $6 or $8 a pack is when I quit. I was like, no, it's too much. That's not withdrawing. It's leadership's sort we've seen since Reagan of growing community aligned not by moralizing but by interest. Far from withdrawing from the world, Trump is asserting American hegemony. Hegemony is an interesting word, frequently confused with empire. Empire means rule over unrepresented people by a foreign elite in some distant capital. Hegemony is none of that. Hegemony is an alliance in which one of the allies is significantly stronger than the rest. The Rizla rollers, you still have it? Yeah. That I sent my son to Laughlin to buy me the cheapest cigarettes, and he came back with cigar cigarettes. They were 50% cheaper, so apparently now I smoke cigarettes. I get a carton for less than $50. $59. That's cool. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like to smoke like if you smoke a cigar, you like smoke one cigar a day, and man, you get a lot of nicotine from that cigar. Now you can certainly have alliances without hegemony. Any groupings of equals is exactly that. But the United States is no one's equal. It's 4% of the world's population, yet 26% of the world's economy. And that's not because it stole or got lucky. That's because it's the most productive, most innovative, most entrepreneurial nation in human history. America is, as it were, exceptional. In so being, it's also a beacon of hope and inspiration to better and a magnet for millions who want a better future. Skull. Yeah. Tobacco companies got hit with the $200 billion fine in the 90s is what happened. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that'll do it. America is larger than life. It cannot help but have outsized influence in any club it might join. Its hegemony is inevitable, but unlike an imperial master, whether of the traditional sort or the modern globalist variety, hegemon respects boundaries. Each nation is free to rule itself and does so even while voluntarily acting in the collective interest. This is another way of saying that where empire is inherently anti-nationalist, hegemony affirms nationalism. The idea that discrete groups of people should have the right to rule themselves, not be ruled by others in Brussels, Berlin, and Beijing. Partnership is one thing, colonization is quite another, whether literal or metaphorical. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm. 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 Trump's project is explicitly nationalist. It starts with America first, but it doesn't stop there. That's what truly horrifies many of Trump's critics. His vision of strong partner states reduces the very dependency that made them all subjects of the preferred globalist elitist order. Ironically, in doing so, Trump has enhanced and extended America's global hegemony more than any president since Reagan. First among equals means that when others really have some measure of equality, America isn't retreating, If you don't believe me, just ask yourself who bombed Fordo or why the Kansas National Guard is in the former Russian ally Armenia this morning. No, America is deputizing its allies to take more responsibility in their own regions, allowing America to bring overwhelming force to bear anywhere, anytime, without the danger of Bush-Obama era overstretch. This may be transactional, but it isn't isolationism. It just isn't neoconservatism. It's the restoration of a model that worked under Reagan, a model of moral realism and hegemony, not imperial arrogance and overreach. By respecting, affirming, and strengthening sovereignty, demanding responsibility, and recognizing the limits of American power, long ignored by the uniparty establishment, Trump has ensured those limits will not be reached. Indeed, by empowering partners, he has expanded those limits. In doing so, he has extended America's influence and spread its ideals farther than his recent predecessors ever could. The people who cry retreat understand this on some level. They just don't like it. The Beltway class thrives on dependency. NGOs, defense contractors, and diplomatic bureaucracies all profit from client states who can't or won't stand on their own. Moreover, as Doge discovered at USAID, the entire system has become corrupt, a giant leftist slush fund for unaccountable, off-the-books projects, both foreign and domestic. Trump threatens that business model by ending the subsidies and demanding performance. He strips the establishment he inherited of its influence and relevance. So they call it isolationism. People who, for the most part, don't believe in capitalism denigrate it as transactional. But the real fear isn't that America will disengage, it's that it will engage in ways that can't control or monetize. And even worse still, it's an increasingly potent partnership of strong, assertive nation states who will prove fatal to the globalist project. Trump's foreign policy is not withdrawal from the world or isolationism, no matter how many learned hands tell us otherwise. The father who makes his sons work, train, and contribute doesn't abandon them. He prepares them to stand with him in a fight. That's what Trump has done for his own family, and it's what he's doing for America's allies. In the process, he has only increased America's hegemony. Wow, so that was a good article, I must say. This says Trump offers Putin minerals for peace. Ukraine mineral. Where we at? No. Why does it say advertise? Trump offers Putin minerals for peace. Donald Trump is preparing to offer Vladimir Putin access to rare earth minerals to incentivize him to end the war in Ukraine. Proposals include giving the U.S. president will arrive at the much anticipated meeting with his Russian counterpart on Friday, armed with a number of money-making opportunities for Putin. They will include opening up Alaska's natural resources to Moscow and lifting some of the American sanctions on Russia's aviation industry, the Telegraph can reveal. But I don't know. Rocket Casper, hey Jim, sorry for being a jerk. IBW still sucks though. Well, I'll just say that I'm happy with my pension from the IBW. I'm not happy with the way the IBW treats the members these days. They're not really looking out for the members' best interest by constantly, no matter what, always just demanding they vote for Democrats and always giving money for Democrats. And it's like a distinctive thing, like Democrats must vote Democrat, because that's the leadership of the unions are basically in bed with Democrats, and it's a revolving door of people going in and out of, they leave the union and they go work for some political action committee for government or on some board in Washington. I mean, if you look at my union in particular, 134, and you look at the former business managers and presidents of the union, whenever they leave, they end up in Washington. They're working for like internet, all this stuff, and they're working for the Democrats. They're all connected. My ex-father-in-law made bank with IBW 26. Man was an electrician all his life, got more money than he knows what to do with. Yeah, he make good money. Yeah. Us IBW stick together. Yeah. I know. I mean, I will always help out a brother, you know, an IBW brother, or any, you know, anybody really, you know, a brother from the military, a brother, you know, people that are, you know, other union members that I knew worked with stuff. I always got along with the elevator constructors. I always got along with the pipe fitters, the plumbers, the carpenters. Why are you a carpenter? That's what I tell them. I'd fuck with them. I'd be like, are you a carpenter? Anyway, that's some globalist shit. It is. Wow, that's it. Yeah. Odessa's still on the menu. Putin is going to want Transnistria, Crimea. Yeah, I agree. It says, yeah, unions, NGO, charities should not be able to donate to political campaigns. Yep, I agree. They should stay out of it. Unions shouldn't be involved, especially when the unions do business with governments, because then they're basically. Hank says, if it wasn't for unions, everybody working 80-hour day, 80-hour days and nights a week. No, I mean, they would be working. I mean, see, I don't really know. I mean, a lot of stuff I've read is that stuff started coming down. Like they started lowering hours worked and stuff before unions really took hold. But I know there was some people abusing people, and that unions kind of, you know, were able to stop some of that stuff. And then Julio Scissors comes in with $10, so he's like, "Here's 10." And I know Jim didn't mention the goal at all tonight because he was hoping people would forget that no one would give any money and that he could, you know, cut it off at 2 hours and go to sleep. But Julio says, not so fast. He said, not so fast. I'm going to give 10 towards the 50, and let's see if someone else is going to come on top and make Jim stay. He says, well, I'm not trying to keep you up. Oh, that's what they all say, Julio. That's what they all say. They'll include opening up Alaska's natural resources. I don't like this idea of opening up Alaska's natural resources to Moscow. Why wouldn't we open up Alaska's natural resources to ourselves? Is it just because Moscow and the Russians have a lot more technology for operating in the colder climates like that? They're better at getting the oil out when it's really cold. Is that it? I don't know. I mean, I know they get oil out of Siberia and stuff, so I know they can work in cold climates. If I'm not mistaken, we got a lot of, if not consultants from Russia when we were doing the Arctic drilling up in the, up near the Arctic Circle when we do that stuff. Rick Douglas says, not tonight, Jim. I know, that's how I feel. Mm-hmm. Well, he says we aren't. The press got caught flat-footed by Trump and just trying to seem relevant on the Putin Alaska story. Yeah, it seems like we have labor laws now. I mean, so if we have labor laws that say this is what a work week is and all that stuff, what did the union really do? Oh, here goes. Good for you, though. You're living my ideal retirement. If you're into crazy stuff, have you heard of Michael Sarian? No, but I'll look that up. I'll see. E.S. Sarian. I'll look. I got him pulled up, so I'll look at him later and see what he's got. It's our regulations. Russia does not care. Okay. Should have joined an ex-husband's union. Yeah, early 2000 days of the powers of symbolism. Yeah. Proposals include giving Putin access to the rare earth minerals in the Ukrainian territories currently occupied by Russia. First of all, if Russia is occupying the lands, they already have access to the rare earth minerals there. They can do what they want. What are we going to tell them? No, no, no. No, no, no. The U.S. Treasury Secretary is understood to be among administration figures briefing Trump ahead of his meeting with Putin in Anchorage. Best is exploring the economic trade-offs of the U.S. can make with Russia in order to expedite a ceasefire agreement. Speaking at a press conference on Wednesday, Mr. Trump. See, why did again, Mr. Trump, not President Trump. What is with these papers with the Mr. Trump? And Putin said Putin would face severe consequences if he did not agree to end the war in Ukraine. I don't get it. The U.S. leader also revealed his intention to seek an immediate second meeting with Putin, this time involving Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine's president, after the one-on-one talks in Alaska. See, why didn't they call him Mr. Zelensky? Mm-hmm. They said Ukraine's president. Mm-hmm. Trump said if this first one goes okay, we'll have a second one quick. I would like to do it almost immediately, and we'll have a quick second meeting between Putin and Zelensky and myself if they'd like to have me there. U.S. president had attended a virtual summit with Zelensky and other European leaders, including Sir Keir Starmer. Why do you call him Sir Keir Starmer and you just call him Mr. Trump? Emmanuel Macron and Friedrich Merz as part of the series of calls ahead of the Alaska meeting. Yeah. I know they're disrespecting Trump. I know they are, but I like to call it out whenever I see it because I think it's stunning. You know, they don't ever just say Mr. Obama. They say President Obama. Speaking after the talks, Mr. Zelensky said, "Oh, okay." So they said Mr. Trump backed security guarantees for Russia. I guess they're using Mr. Maybe my point's not what I think it is. There should be security guarantees, he told a press conference alongside Mr. Merz, the German chancellor. So maybe they're disrespecting everyone now. President Trump said that he supports this and America's readiness to take part. In the past months, Washington has kept security guarantees, some kind of commitment that America will be willing to enforce the terms of any peace deal for Ukraine off the table, despite it being a key demand from Kyiv. We're not going to defend you, Kyiv. Keep dreaming. UK, France, and Germany have been working towards creating a peacekeeping force without direct involvement of the Americans, but had hoped the U.S. may offer some support, such as air cover. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Offering an update on his plans following the Wednesday talks, Sir Keir said his coalition of the willing was ready to implement a ceasefire plan as soon as the peace deal was agreed. Yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't either. I call him Gavin Newsom's press office pinned comment. Is that the comment? Is that a comment in the where he's talking about what California's going to do, that they're going to do their own gerrymandering? And Jim, were you a teacher in another lifetime? Not a school teacher per se. I did train people to teach classes on stuff, but not like school, trade stuff. You know, electrical engineering and yeah. So sorta, you know. Don't forget that 1/5 is really 2/5. I already forgot. Old soul. The plans are now ready in a form that can be useful if we get to that ceasefire, said the Prime Minister, adding that the real progress and security guarantees for Ukraine has been made. European leaders, including Emmanuel Macron, the French president, said the calls with Mr. Trump were positive after the calls with Mr. Zelensky said Putin was bluffing when he said he does not care about the sanctions and that they're not working. As well as lifting sanctions, the Telegraph can now reveal that the U.S. is preparing to offer Putin other financial incentives to end the war, including access to rare earth minerals in the areas of Ukraine currently. They keep fucking repeating themselves. Ukraine is thought to hold 10% of the world's reserves of lithium used in the production of batteries. 2 of its largest lithium deposits are in areas held by Russia. So those would be Russia's deposits then. And Putin has staked his claim to the valuable minerals found in regions his forces occupy. Okay, so then it's not really making sense. Last night, a super chat came in after you declared no more hours. Actually, that's not what happened. What happened was it got just discombobulated, and so it was a. But yeah, I know it was Charlton Company's $10. I remember. There's a range of incentives in which a potential mineral rare earth deal could be done. Could be one, a source. Could be one. Okay, I get it now. So there's a range of incentives. A potential mineral and rare earth deal could be one of the incentives. A source with knowledge of the proposals told the Telegraph. In May, the U.S. signed a rare earth deal with Kyiv, allowing it to exploit Ukraine's ample natural resources. Washington will need to establish new mining operations, which can be accelerated with Russian cooperation. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I heard that lithium was on its way out. I heard that there's some kind of sodium something battery, sodium batteries that they're looking at. The president's America First policy has seen him strike several mineral deals since his return to the Oval Office, most notably with Ukraine and Kazakhstan. Kazaki mafia. Other incentives include lifting export bans on parts and equipment needed to service Russian planes, swaths of which have fallen into disrepair. Western countries have restricted Moscow's access to crucial spare components and other equipment since its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, forcing airlines and militaries to cannibalize old aircraft for replacement parts. It says, I'm starting my own Eyes Wide Shut party, $5 cover, $10 to pet the animals. Who's in? Yeah, Putin's like, no deal. I already have that territory. Yeah, like Putin's not going to give up any of the territory he has. They're making progress every day. They're making progress, taking more territory. So why would they give up something? Elon has a new battery that will charges like 1/5 the time and will not catch fire. Well, that would be awesome. Nearly 30% of Russia's western-made planes cut off from maintenance could be grounded within the next 5 years, Sergei Shemazov said, the head of Rostec, Russia's state-owned defense conglomerate. You want to buy an Ural motorcycle with a sidecar? Cool. Sounds cool. Lifting sanctions on Russian aircraft could prove lucrative for American manufacturer Boeing. With a fleet of more than 700 planes dominated by Airbus and Boeing, Russian airlines could return to the American suppliers for critical parts and maintenance. They could. Recent major incidents highlight an urgent need to prevent the fleet degrading. In late July, a Soviet-era Antonov AN-24 built in 1976 crashed in the country's far east, killing all 48 people on board. Days later, the Russian flag carrier Aeroflot grounded dozens of flights following a crippling cyber attack. Mr. Trump is also considering offering Russia opportunities to tap into the valuable natural resources in the strait that separates it from the U.S. Alaska, separated from Russia by just 3 miles of the Bering Strait, is estimated to hold significant undiscovered oil and gas reserves, including 13% of the world's oil. 13% of the world's oil. That's a number. 13%. Huh. Hey, Ank, with a member for 2 months coming in saying, hey, ho, ho, ho. Developing Russia's presence in the strait would bolster Putin's strategic interests in the Arctic region, which accounted for 80% of Russia's gas production in 2022. Would we want to do that then? Does that make sense? Why we would want to bolster him? UK government sources told the Telegraph that such incentives could be acceptable to Europe so long as it's not seen as rewarding Russia. The sense is that it has to be presented to align with public opinion around this, not be seen as a reward for Putin. Israel's occupation of the West Bank could be used as a model for ending the war. Russia would have military and economic control of occupied Ukraine under its own governing body, similar to Israel's de facto rule of Palestinian territory. The idea was raised in discussions between Steve Witkoff, Mr. Trump's special envoy, and his Russian counterparts, according to the Times. The White House is tempering expectations ahead of the summit on Friday, portraying it as a listening exercise for the president. This is really a feel-out meeting a little bit, Mr. Trump told reporters on Monday, predicting he would know probably in the first 2 minutes that Putin was serious about peace. European diplomats say there has been no notable change in Putin's overall war aim, which is to topple Mr. Zelensky's government and replace it with a Moscow-friendly proxy. Oh, so he wants to undo the Maidan coup that happened in 2014. Okay. See how that works? The Russian president's aides described a tete-a-tete. A tete-a-tete, what is that? Tit for tat, tete-a-tete, a tete-a-tete, I don't know. Primarily as a discussion on Russian-American relations, hinting at boosting trade cooperation. A White House official said, "We do not comment on deliberative conversations that may or may not be happening. From the beginning, the president has been clear about his commitment to ending the bloodshed and achieving a full and comprehensive ceasefire." As the president stated, everyone agrees this war must come to a close, and that's what he is working towards. Broaden your horizons. Award-winning journalism from crossword puzzle weirdos. Leave the experts behind. Trump's best move for the Putin summit. The Financial Times laments that when President Trump meets Vladimir Putin in Alaska, there will be no experts in the room. Are we gonna? I mean, are we gonna deny that Trump is an expert at negotiating, and cutting deals? I mean, he wrote The Art of the Deal, didn't he? What about Schiff, Jim? We're gonna talk about Schiff. I got him here somewhere. Shifty Schiff. Where's he at? Where's Schiff at? Let me look. Turns out Schiff is all the way down towards the end of the show if we make it there. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Face to face, yes. It's meant to evoke images of a president outmatched, deprived of sage counsel, and vulnerable to manipulation. But what if the absence of these so-called experts is not a deficiency, but an advantage? What if the very people now bemoaning their exclusion are the same ones who have led the U.S. into debacles from which it has yet to recover? To answer this, we must examine the actual records of the experts the FT cites as indispensable. Financial Times. Their names are familiar: Eric Rubin, Eric Green, Fiona Hill, Daniel Freed, John Bolton. Each has held esteemed positions, written policy papers, and sat in high-level meetings. Yet each, in critical moments, has been associated with strategies and judgment that have proven disastrously wrong. No, I'm not going to 5 a.m. tonight. I mean, I might go an extra hour if that happens, but I'm slogging to make it through the 2-hour show right now. Eric Rubin warns that Trump has no policymaker with Russia or Ukraine expertise advising him, pointing to low morale in the diplomatic corps and vacant posts. Yet Rubin's own tenure offers little evidence that this expertise translates into effective deterrence. In 2014, as Deputy Assistant Secretary in the State Department's European Bureau, he helped manage the Obama administration's response to Russia's annexation of Crimea. Yeah. The experts don't want peace with Russia. Yeah, it's true. They don't. All neocons, definitely. Yeah. It's not a war, it's a cleanup operation. It is. Thanks for what? What did I do? What did I do? He helped manage the Obama administration's response to it. The response consisted mainly of meaningless sanctions and worthless diplomatic rebukes, coupled with a refusal to provide Ukraine with defensive arms. The result was not only restoration of Crimea, but a frozen conflict that emboldened Moscow and set the stage for future aggression. Expertise, in this case, was not a bulwark against expansionism, but a cloak for timidity. He says, I watched the last hour of the show last night and still missed 3 hours. I don't know what that means. Oh, keeping it short tonight. Yeah, I figured it'd go like 2 hours. I'm not, like I said, I haven't asked for anybody to make any donations because tonight, everybody, honestly, last night, all you people who donated last night, you overdid yourselves. You went above and beyond anything I ever expected. It was by far the biggest night, biggest show, money-wise, I've ever had. So I was greatly touched and very appreciative of it. That's why I'm not going to pester anybody for anything for at least a few days. Today, at least. A couple hours. Right now. I won't pester anybody right now. How's that? Eric Green, who cautions that Trump could be outmaneuvered by Putin without seasoned advisors, served as President Biden's top Russia aide on the National Security Council before and during the 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Yeah, so that's the guy we really want. That's the guy we really want talking, huh? His team's deterrence strategy relied on publicly releasing intelligence about Russia's invasion plans, an approach meant to shame and deter Putin. Putin invaded anyway. The administration also refused to negotiate on NATO expansion, even symbolically, foreclosing off any diplomatic off-ramp. Whether one believes that offering such an off-ramp would have been worked, the fact remains that Green's expert-led strategy failed in its own terms. Deterrence was not achieved. The war came. You've graduated from the comic shitsphere. I still like comic books. I still back comic books and buy comic books. I've always liked comic books. I've always been into comic books. I have a very large comic book collection. I mean, it's one of them things where it's just, since the early 80s. I think I bought my first comic book in 1982. So, and I still have it. I just don't want to be involved in the bullshit that's going on right now. All this stuff. Like I have my opinions about what everyone's doing and who the different people are, but and what they're up to and stuff. But I'm gonna stay out of it because it doesn't do anything but just cause a problem. If you say you like something, people attack you. If you say you don't like something, people attack you. If you say something could have been done better, people attack you. So I'm just not going to say anything. Can't believe how much money there is in the YouTube indie comic book scene. There's a lot of money, but it's just a few people getting it right now. But it is what it is. Fiona Hills recalls considering faking a seizure to stop Trump's 2018 Helsinki press conference with Putin, portraying herself as the custodian of proper statecraft. Yet her own record includes serious misjudgment. In 2004, she urged Western leaders to stop blaming Putin and start helping him, a recommendation that reads today as a shockingly naive. More recently, she co-authored a UK defense review so alarmist that respected historians and former ambassadors condemned it as warmongering based on false premise. If Trump's press conference was a walkword, Hill's advocacy for gearing Britain for near total mobilization against Russia risked far more serious consequences. Daniel Freed argues that Trump and his advisor Steve Witkoff don't know enough and need an expert in the room to challenge the president. Freed's own career should give us pause before we anoint him as the expert. He was a key architect of NATO's eastward expansion, a policy that critics across the spectrum argue fueled Russia's paranoia and aggression. He was also part of Bush administration's diplomatic team in a run-up to the Iraq War, working to split Europe into old and new camps to secure support for the invasion. That war, sold on false premises, remains one of the most damaging strategic blunders in U.S. history. Freed later oversaw sanctions policy against Russia, which did little to halt its aggressions in Ukraine. His expertise has been consistent only in its inability to produce the promised results. John Bolton dismisses Trump's preparation habits, recalling the 2018 president watched soccer highlights instead of nuclear briefing. Bolton was the most famous of the group, and his record is equally famous for its failures. As a top State Department official, he was a key proponent of the claim that Saddam Hussein possessed weapons of mass destruction. Weapons of mass destruction. A claim that was false. The invasion of Iraq, which Bolton still defends, cost hundreds of thousands of lives, destabilizing the Middle East and strengthening Iran's regional position. Bolton has repeatedly advocated preventative war against Iran and North Korea, often with little more than his own assertion to support him. If Trump prefers to trust his own instincts over Bolton's counsel, that may be less a sign of recklessness than of prudence. These case studies reveal a consistent pattern. The expert class, as represented by Rubin, Green, Hill, Freed, and Bolton, have presided over policies that failed to deter adversaries, squandered American credibility, destabilized regions, and in some cases led directly to war. They have enjoyed the prestige of their titles without paying a personal price for their mistakes. And now they warn us that without them in the room, the U.S. is at risk. But perhaps the greater risk lies in continuing to entrust our nation's strategy to those whose track records are defined by failure. The idea that president after president should defer to career diplomats who have repeatedly failed is idiocy. Expertise is not an inherent good. It is valuable only when it's grounded in sound judgment, adaptability, and a willingness to learn from your mistakes. In the absence of these qualities, expertise becomes a self-reinforcing credential used to defend the status quo long after it's been discredited. Trump's critics say he prioritizes loyalty over experience, but they neglect to note that experience in question is often experience in getting things wrong. A president who seeks counsel from successful dealmakers, skilled negotiators, and those in the real world, those with real-world achievements outside a foreign policy bubble may actually be expanding the range of options available to him. In business, as in diplomacy, fresh perspectives can expose blind spots that insiders no longer see. Get a VTuber anime chick in a corner for a sign language. I thought about that. I don't know how that works, though. Hey, good morning, retired nurse. None of this is to claim that negotiations with leaders like Putin is easy or that unconventional advisors guarantee success, but it is to insist that the burden of proof has shifted. After Iraq, after Afghanistan, after Libya, after the failure to deter Russia, those who built these policies must demonstrate why they should be trusted again. Until they do, the absence of such experts in the room is not a flaw. It's a safeguard against more failures. Yeah, I've read that story. It's a bunch of bull hockey because they said it was impossible to do. Because they claim the machines are not connected to the internet. So which is it? Are the machines connected to the internet or are they not connected to the internet? The Financial Times wishes to frame the Alaska meeting as a contest in which Trump enters unarmed. The truth is that he may be leaving behind the very weapons that have misfired for decades. In their place, he brings willingness to question orthodoxies, test assumptions, and pursue outcomes measured not by the approval of foreign policy establishment, but by their benefits to the United States and its citizens. Woo! And I read this story, and I'm gonna read it and talk about it, but I couldn't find very much anything about this. I found some stuff, but I couldn't find any stories about this next one. So, because they were using thumb drives. Oh, okay. Breaking: the White House is moving to adopt an illegal Biden-era gun control rule enforcing the UN Small Arms Treaty in America. And they're doing it just 12 days before the UN's gun control summit in Geneva. Geneva, Switzerland. Switzerland. Yeah, there's the thing right here. And this is the deep state's playbook. Give governments the monopoly on firearms and strip citizens of their means of self-defense. If this rule passes, American gun owners and our firearms industry will pay the price. Biden's commerce rule, RIN 0694-AJ46, is a copy-paste of the UN treaty language. It would ban U.S. civilians from exporting small arms abroad, killing overseas markets for American-made firearms, while letting foreign governments keep buying. Yeah, the ATF should be a convenience store that only sells alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. The impact: massive revenue losses for U.S. manufacturers, layoffs across the firearms industry, higher prices for American consumers, less innovation, and fewer options on the market. And make no mistake, that the gun industry takes a hit, so do law-abiding Americans. A weaker industry means fewer companies producing quality firearms, ammo, and parts, and we foot the bill in the form of higher costs and fewer choices. The rule directly advances the UN civilian disarmament agenda. It helps oppressive regimes disarm their people while undermining the industry that arms free people here and at home and abroad. I mean, here at home and abroad. It also violates federal law. Public Law 11842, Section 537, which forbids taxpayer dollars from implementing the Small Arms Treaty. They're not just breaking the law, they're using it to stab gun owners in the back. Yeah, there's a couple interesting lawsuits about the NFA that look like they might have legs. We'll have to see what happens. Ooh. I'm sorry. Hold on a second. Ugh. Donald Trump and the White House must rescind this rule immediately and force the ban on taxpayer funding for any UN treaty implementation. The bottom line is RIN 0694-AJ46 is the Biden and UN's backdoor gun ban, one that will gut U.S. firearm industry, weaken American gun owners, and embolden global gun grabbers. Yeah, everyone wants cheap 7.62 by 39 again. Maybe that's the deal that he's going to make with Putin. He's going to trade him, something for a couple truckloads, a couple pallets, a couple of shipments of nice, Red Army Standard or Tula or Wolf. Deep State is daring Trump to stop them. Take action. Call the White House now to make your voice heard on this critical issue. There aren't too many organizations that have their own Wikipedia page for sex and trafficking crimes. Very interesting. Yeah, so here is here's the thing. It basically just says revision of firearm license requirements. It says the title, the revision of firearm license requirements. This is an interim final rule. The Bureau of Industry and Security is amending the Export Administration related items to better protect U.S. national security and foreign policy interests, which include countering the diversion and misuse of firearms and related items and advancing human rights. Wow. Yeah, Gerson, I think, right? Gerson's turkey stuff is not bad. Oh. Canik too. Yeah, Canik's good. Council of European calls on 46 member states to halt arms to Israel. Say what? Council of Europe urged its 46 member nations to halt their deliveries of weapons to Israel due to the humanitarian crisis unfolding in Gaza. Michael O'Flaherty, Council's Commissioner for Human Rights, said all its member states should do what's necessary to avoid exacerbating the current issue. The current situation in the Palestinian enclave, following the Germans' move to halt some arms shipments to Jewish state in light of Benjamin Netanyahu's order to invade Gaza City. When's the OnlyFans coming out? Got to get that tape money. I don't. No one wants to. Believe me, no one wants to see me naked. Members should do their most to prevent and address violations of international human rights. O'Flaherty says. O'Flaherty, what are you doing, O'Flaherty? This includes applying existing legal standards to ensure that arms transfers are not authorized where there is a risk that they may be used to commit human rights violations. I mean, when you consider that shooting somebody in the head or shooting somebody would be a human rights violation, so a gun would by definition be capable of human rights violations. Does that mean they should all be banned? That seems insane. O'Flaherty also said to the members, which include UK, France, and Italy, to intensify efforts to provide relief to those affected by the conflict. Or so, I wonder if O'Flaherty noted that the statement was partially influenced by Germany's decision to curb arms exports. Zoran's rent stabilized digs. Letters to the editor, August 14, 2025. That's tomorrow. How could they have a story published today that's not supposed to be up tomorrow? Isn't that odd? Germany, along with the U.S. and Italy, is among the top foreign suppliers of military equipment to the Israel Defense Forces, to the IDF. Chancellor Frederick Merz's surprise stance was among the loudest rebukes yet of one of Israel's strongest international backers over the decision to invade Gaza City. Yeah. Yeah. UK is a precursor to New Canada, which is waging economic war. Yeah, it is. Even harsher military action by Israel in the Gaza Strip, approved by Israeli cabinet last night, makes it increasingly difficult for the German government to see how these goals may be achieved. Under the circumstances, the German government will not authorize any exports of military equipment that could be used in the Gaza Strip until further notice. Critics of the invasion plan, including the IDF's own chief of staff, have warned that the full military occupation of Gaza City would only result in unnecessary categories, putting the remaining 50 hostages at risk. I don't have an answer. They're showing, look, this guy's starving. Look at him. We got to go in. We got to go in there and kill these people so they don't starve. What? Yeah, it's the only way to save the village was to burn it down. What? That's crazy. Netanyahu, however, maintains that military pressure is the only way to rid Gaza of Hamas and rescue the hostages. Only 20 of them are believed to still be alive. Wow. Wow. Well. The Battle Prime Minister has reiterated that the conflict in Gaza is not, it's just a war. It's supposed to get pushback as a reward for Hamas. Okay. Oh, here's a feel good story, kind of a little bit. I don't know about feel good story now. I just said that out loud. The FBI has busted an alleged human trafficking ring with 10 children, some under the age of 12 and 17 adults. The individuals were rescued from filthy Nebraska hotels where they were allegedly trafficked for sex and forced labor. The FBI will never stop fighting for victims and delivering justice, and we will hunt predators to the ends of the earth. Omaha area motels, salons, human trafficking tied to multi-year probe and 5 arrests. 5 arrests. Arrest my case. Arrested my case. Put them away for life. No arrest. Typical Nebraskans. Look at this. Kentamukakur Chiradri. Ramashi Aji Samadamala. Amerit Padabada Kadri. Amit Budadara Bala Achadari. Oh. Nutso. And then nothing happened. What I've learned has shocked me down to the core. I was told there would be arrests. I was told there'd be Epstein files. Yeah. DOJ breaks up human trafficking ring at several Nebraska hotels. 10 children, 17 adults were rescued. And the American Inn, the Inn, formerly Super 8, the New Victorian, the Roadway Inn. Wow. Wow, bow, bow, bow. 5 Nebraskan men. Yeah, Katamakachur, Chajari, Kashamishi, Ajit Samani, Amijit Prabhadali, Chajudri, Amit Baba Hamadu, Chudri, and Makashakashur, Chudri. Oh, that's nuts. Breaking, not a single natural-born American was arrested or charged in DOJ's raid of a human trafficking ring operating in multiple Nebraska hotels, from which 10 children and 17 adults were rescued yesterday. Huh. Not a single American. Wow. No American. They trafficked humans, including 10 minors and 17 adults, forcing them to work long hours for little or no pay in hotels and businesses like Ash. Oh. They're also encouraged to hit sex trafficking, dealing drugs, and overdoses. So many that Narcan was. The Bagavita, the Narcan was kept at the hotel front desk. They also staged a fake robbery to secure fraudulent U visas. The Fed seized over $565,000 in cash, drugs, and moved to block the sale of hotel property. Scheme also involved smuggling people from India and getting fake driver's licenses in Washington. Just your typical Nebraskans. Here's FBI Omaha hosted a press conference yesterday with our law enforcement partners announcing the arrest of 5 individuals involved in the alleged conspiracy to engage in labor trafficking, sex trafficking, and other criminal activity at several hotel locations in brow and lash salons across the basket. Says you read this is not the first time this family was busted for this in Nebraska. Well, that would make me very upset. Eugene Cowell, special agent in charge of the FBI Omaha, stated human trafficking is a form of modern day slavery. This investigation revealed victims right here in the heart of the heartland, forced into sexual activity, living and working in dangerous and filthy conditions, and extorted to work in grueling jobs with little to no pay. We will stand shoulder to shoulder with our partners and aggressively identify and apprehend perpetrators of human trafficking, hold them accountable, and obtain justice for victims. Our approach to these horrific cases is always centered on the victim. We will continue to surge resources to arrest violent offenders in our community as part of the FBI's Summer Heat Initiative. Human traffickers cannot be combated by one agency alone. FBI's Omaha is grateful for the work of our partners on this large-scale investigation that included dedicated personnel from the Department of Homeland Security, the Sarpy County Sheriff's Office, the Omaha Police Department, the Nebraska State Patrol, the Internal Revenue Service Criminal Division, Criminal Investigative Branch, and the United States Marshal Service, and the Nebraska State Attorney General's Office. Wow. More details are available here. Let's listen to the press conference. Why not?
Joined here today with the United States Attorney's Office for the District of Nebraska.
I want to thank each and
District of Nebraska, Nebraska State Patrol, Omaha Police Department, and Sarpy County Sheriff's Office. So early this morning, FBI Omaha and our partners conducted a large-scale law enforcement operation in Omaha, Bellevue, Norfolk, and Elkhorn here in Douglas County. Altogether, we had over 300 law enforcement personnel from 11 different agencies conduct search warrants at 4 hotels, 2 residential locations, establishments identified as eyebrow salons. 5 subjects were arrested on federal charges, and so
Trying to figure out how to get it. Won't let me adjust the volume.
far 4 subjects were arrested on outstanding local warrants. The takedown today focused on disrupting and dismantling criminal activity here in Nebraska as part of our Operation Summer Heat. This is a nationwide FBI initiative with our partners going after major violent offenders and working with all of our partners to crush violent crime during the summer months.
today alone and throughout this investigation, over 100 Omaha police officers were involved in some shape or fashion. We became deeply involved in this investigation in January of 2025 after uncovering a sex trafficking ring. And that brought us in contact with our law enforcement partners here who have been absolutely stellar every step of the way. I want to thank each and every officer, deputy, federal agent that worked on this case.
When concerned citizens called us when they become aware of criminal activity at these locations, and that was vital to this case. So we encourage the public, continue to call us. You may not see immediate results. Maybe we can't even always talk to you about what we're doing, but it doesn't mean we aren't listening. It doesn't mean we're not taking the information in, working hard to collect additional evidence and to go after the threat and to hold perpetrators responsible. Several concerned citizens made calls to human trafficking hotlines in this case about child workers and sex trafficking occurring at some of these hotels. I want you to know that here we take a very victim-centered approach to these cases, to human trafficking cases. And we have devoted victim specialists whose sole job is to help support victims through the duration of the investigation.
Well, Gundam Zig says, in 2018, these people were convicted and sentenced to only a single year in prison for enslaving children and beating and abusing them regular period of years. If that's the case, then I got some serious issue with some people. Because that's some nutso cutso stuff there. Let's look. Here's the local story from the Nebraska Examiner. It says Omaha area motels, salons, human trafficking tied to multi-year probe and 5 arrests. A multi-year investigation centered on multiple motels, brow and lash salons, and alleged human trafficking in and around Nebraska's largest city has led to charges against 5 people in hotel business. The 5 who own and operate and manage the involved hotels are accused of crimes ranging from alleged sex and labor trafficking, fraudulent use of visas, money laundering, and concealing undocumented immigrants, law enforcement officials announced Tuesday. As part of the search warrants was 565, also seized as part of the search warrants was $565,000 in cash and jewelry. A representative of the U.S. Homeland Security said workers in the country without proper documentation also were detained, though he declined to disclose how many. Eugene Cowell said, special agent in charge of the Omaha FBI, said child victims as young as 12 were also involved in the case he described as absolutely horrific. A statement said officers rescued 10 minors and 17 adults from the alleged labor trafficking conspiracy. Wow. Wow. Human trafficking is a form of modern-day slavery, Kyle said. This investigation revealed victims right here in the heartland forced into sexual activity, living and working in dangerous and filthy conditions, and extorted to work in grueling jobs with little to no pay. Cowell said the investigators became aware of the activity about 4 years ago, assisted by calls and concerns from the public. He said the case involves sex for rent, drugs, and more. On one occasion, he said a source working with the federal government entered a hotel room where immigrants slept on the floor with cockroaches crawling on them. Omaha Police Chief Todd Schmaderer said more than 100 Omaha officers worked on the case at various points, mostly since earlier this year when the alleged juvenile sex trafficking case was revealed at one of the hotels that was also part of Tuesday's crackdown. The property, the Americana Inn near Interstate 80 and 13th Street, is adjacent to Omaha's Henry Dorley Zoo. One motel property upon which agents converged Tuesday, the New Victorian Inn and Suites near 108th and L Streets, the Roadway Inn at 1110 Fort Crook Road in South Bellevue, the Inn, formerly Super 8, at 9305 South 145th Street. 10 other businesses associated with the accused were also searched under the warrant. The officials said, including the Brown Lash Salons in the West Roads Mall and the other Omaha Metro locations. The 5 hoteliers accused of alleged crimes, according to the U.S. Attorney for Nebraska, is Leslie Woods, Ken Takamura Chaudhary, 36, of Elkhorn, Rashmi Ajit Samani of Elkhorn, Amit Prabhadabalabadabahai of Kladahari of Omaha, Amit Babadabahui of Kladahari, 33, of Omaha, and Mahesha Kumar Chaudhary, 38, of Norfolk. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office statement, sex trafficking was encouraged at the hotels, protected from law enforcement detection, and sex trafficking victims at the hotels were subjected to not only traditional perpetrators of sex trafficking scheme, but also to hotel management and employees victimizing them as well. The statement said drug traffickers allegedly received protection from law enforcement in the same manner in which human traffickers were shielded by the hotel owners and managers. Cowell said at least one of the accused is charged with conspiracy to defraud the government through a scheme designed to obtain a U visa, which are for victims that help law enforcement prosecute crimes. In that situation, he said a hotel owner is accused of staging a fictitious robbery at a salon in 2022, the goal allegedly being to secure a U visa for one of the other defendants by representing her as a victim. The government officials further alleged that one of the 5 people accused had engaged in conversations about the cost to bring someone from India to America. A statement from the U.S. Attorney, a number of the hotel employees crossed the Arizona border years ago and reported to Customs and Border Patrol that they would be residing at one or more of the defendant's hotels, thereby indicating the arrangement were made prior to entering the country illegally. Yeah. The government alleged that this also had unauthorized immigrants were transported between Nebraska and the state of Washington to fraudulently obtain Washington driver's licenses for about $1,000 per document. The federal government is taking steps to prevent the sale or transfer of the hotels during the ongoing investigation. Officials said 11 agencies, about 300 law enforcement officers were involved in the FBI-led investigation. Among the agencies, the Nebraska State Patrol, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and the local U.S. Attorney's Office, and Nebraska's Attorney General Office. And Sarpy County Sheriff's Office. Written by Cindy Gonzalez. On to the next story. Governor Glenn Youngkin, I'm deeply concerned with the allegations that the Fairfax County Public Schools officials arranged for minors to get abortions without parents' parental consent and may have misused public funds to pay for them. I'm directing the Virginia State Patrol, the Virginia Bureau of Criminal Investigation, to open a full criminal investigation in this matter immediately. In 2022, teacher Zenaida Perez raised the alarm. A social worker at Centerville High School had allegedly facilitated a teen girl's abortion. She never gave up in her quest for justice. She told me, I have truth and God on my side. Read her story. Okay. That's not really. Oh. Oh, okay. That's there. It's later. So here's the letter from the governor. Says immediate release. Governor Glenn Duncan directs the Virginia State Police open full criminal investigation into the alleged school-funded abortions in Fairfax County. Glenn Duncan directed Virginia State Police to open the investigation. The investigation comes after a report published yesterday detailing allegations of school staff members allegedly facilitating minors to get abortions without parental consent. I'm deeply concerned with the allegations that Fairfax County public schools officials arranged for minors to get abortions without parental consent. Governor. I'm directing Virginia State Patrol Bureau of Criminal Investigation with a full investigation. Reports allege that school officials may have arranged and paid for abortions for multiple minors without parental notification. Reports also indicate that the school administration may have known this was happening and that school funding may have been used, which could include local, state, and federal funds. Wow. If anyone has information related to these, please reach out. We got this one. Yeah. In 2022, a teacher raised the alarm. Yeah, we saw that. Harmony Dillon says, this is shocking. Yeah, Virginia's Fairfax schools warned the schools 7 times about minors having abortions forced on them without parental knowledge. Mm-hmm. This is the Fairfax County Times. Says county schools are failing our children and families are paying the price. Yeah. Recent weeks, allegations about that came up. This abortions. They may have assisted. Let me be clear: if these allegations are confirmed, this is not a misunderstanding. This is not a policy gray area, and certainly not an isolated lapse of judgment. This is deliberate, systemic betrayal of trust, and direct assault on parents' rights, and a clear violation of Virginia law. Must have immediately transparency and full accountability. Without. Well, public school teacher reveals year-long effort to expose alleged student abortion scandal. Centerville High School teacher Janelle Perez had a surprise visit where she teaches English. A high-powered lawyer is investigating allegations that Perez had made public that school social worker coaxed and funded a student's 2021 abortion. They responded to the allegations the next day. They said they just learned about them. Perez's visitor was Mary McGowan, a retired lawyer from Blankenship and Keith, a longtime go-to firm for Fairfax County Public Schools. Nearly 3-hour interview showed McGowan that she had blown the whistle several times about the abortion scandal since May 2022, not only to be ignored and retaliated against. Wow. The school officials were covering up for the abortion scandal. Your recollection is outstanding. McGowan acknowledged at one point a detailed review of hundreds of pages of documents confirmed Perez's timeline. Perez said she raised concerns a second time in May 2022 when she met with Lehman to revisit the issue a third time. The policy states that every effort shall be made to encourage and support students suspecting pregnancy to discuss their concerns with their parents or guardians. Okay. However, it doesn't say an employee should inform parents about the conversations. Born in Cuba, Perez migrated to the U.S. in 1990 after earning a master's degree in English as a second language. She's often called ESOL. After teaching at Sarasota Public Schools in Florida, she moved to Virginia, ultimately landing a coveted job as a teacher in Fairfax County. High school is a majority minority. Almost 20% of students are learning to speak English. About 1 in 4 students live in low-income homes and qualify for free or reduced public meals. In spring of 2022, she told school board investigators she was blindsided when Lamer asked if she given a pregnancy test to a student. She hadn't, but believed that a student from Guatemala told her that the school social worker had made an appointment for the student to get an abortion at the Falls Church VA Virginia clinic and paid the expenses. A statement written later that fall soon detailed the allegation, what happened, and saw this. When she saw a social worker, she helped me with a pregnancy termination or abortion. She wrote, according to the translation from its original Spanish, she made the appointment for me at the abortion clinic at Fairfax. She paid for the procedure, kept quiet about it, not letting my family know. I was worried that my family would react very badly. When the abortion was performed, I was only 17. Student and guardian could not be reached for comment. Well, unfortunately, people, I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to call it a night. I am about to pass out. Like, I can't even keep my eyes open. I'm running into a wall here. So Thursday night definitely should be better. Maybe Friday night will definitely be better. I'm going to get some sleep. I'm going to get well rested, and I'm going to come back strong for all y'all and get this stuff cranking out here to get some stuff going. Sorry, I couldn't do better. It couldn't do better for you guys. I'm sorry. Good night, everybody. And come on back for Jim to tell you the news.